Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the Hewkii and Flammeus show. Today was indeed a crazy episode with our brother Dante Shantê. I came into this episode feeling like crap, and now I feel amazing. I had a very difficult day, and this time with Dante, the channeling that we did on this episode, that he did, um, answering our very deep and existential questions, it's just incredibly healing. I know it's going to be healing for all of you guys listening in as well.
Yeah, and this is a demonstration of the efficacy of this method, because I know there's a lot of people who are non-woo woo or rationally minded that are not receptive to channeling or things that seem very hippy dippy or whatever. And he stresses a lot of times in the show that you don't need to believe in the cosmology around it in the way that he presents it to benefit from the communication. So even if you're somebody who's like, no, I don't buy channeling or any of this stuff, I'd encourage you still to stick around and just listen to what is being communicated, because there's a lot of very deep and good stuff
Yes.
there. It's very
Don't
useful.
don't please do not allow the way this information is presented here to interfere with your ability to enjoy the benefit uh you can reap from applying this in your own life and your own experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Um
So
Yeah,
yeah.
without further ado, and also I wanted to mention that Dante does live streams where he does this thing. Told us he's going live this Wednesday as well this week, which is when this episode drops, on YouTube, and he does one-on-one sessions with people as well, where he dives into some channeling like this to help with the energetic flow of things in any given individual's life. Would like to try out that method. I can certainly recommend it after recording this episode.
Yeah, me too. This is a lot of fun, very interesting, and I think you're gonna enjoy it. So
So without
yeah.
further ado, Dante Shante and some channeling. Let's go.
Welcome back to the show, Dante. It's a pleasure to have you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So you were actually we received some requests from the audience. Some people were waiting for you to do some live channeling on our last episode. So I feel like we've got some unfinished business.
Yeah,
Wait,
sounds cool.
wait, is that doable?
Yeah,
All right, I'm in. Yes, okay.
Yeah, we don't have to dive into it right away. So yeah,
Really
if
felt like I would be asking too much. All right.
yeah, we went into all the kind of the background and how Dante got into channeling and all that stuff last time. So if you're curious about the backstory, you should go check out our last episode with Dante. But yeah, I think I'm excited and curious to dive into it.
Yeah, me too. Great.
yeah, it'll be fun. Always excited to get channeling out there for more people too. So yeah,
Yeah.
All right, yeah, you got people waiting for it this time, excitedly. And not that you mightn't have people waiting for your channeling in the past. I mean, obviously you have. But well, we've got a hungry audience out there wanting to know how it goes. I'm excited to know how it goes down. And I was like, I don't remember what conclusion we came to on the last call, on the last episode we did with you, but somehow going into this episode, I was like, there's no way. I didn't register that that was within the realm of possibility that we would be doing some channeling actually on the podcast. So I'm very glad to hear that. But let's start somewhere else, shall we? And then we'll. How much time do we need for that?
doesn't matter.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool. So we
How
could.
long does the channeling usually go? What's kind of the regular time
it's like
slot?
half hour to an hour usually.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, this was kind of my main intention for this episode, so there's nothing else that I kind of specifically want to dive into unless Tim has some questions or thoughts. I'm
No, I
always
mean,
intrigued by a lot. You bring up a lot of interesting topics on your social media posts that get me thinking. It's always something I'm happy to dive into. But yeah, I'm mostly excited about the channeling.
Yeah, we can just dive in if that's what you want and talk after.
Yeah,
yeah, but let us not stand on ceremony, brothers.
yeah. So do we have to prepare in any kind of way to be receptive to this, or is there
No, I mean,
something
think
that?
of it as just kind of like a conversation. It might feel different than another conversation, but in the end, that's all it is.
Okay, great.
Hello, and we say a fantastic day to you. We are the Palladian Council. We speak on behalf of a galactic alliance supporting your planet in this process you may call a spiritual evolution. And we thank you for being open to co create, as when we connect with you, energies reverberate and reflect between our respective realities. And this supports both you and ourselves and deepening in the connection to the source. And in this way, we are also grateful and appreciative of this opportunity. We ask, how can we be of assistance to you with any of your questions, comments, or musings at this time?
Okay, do you want to go first, Timmy? I have some questions.
Take it away, take it away.
Okay, so the first thing that came up for me is I've been dealing with a lot of overstimulation, and I've been dealing with hypersensitivity. Um, Especially now it's coming up with regards to creating music. I have a very manic relationship to creativity. So how would you suggest easing that?
Slowing down is probably part of it, to be more deliberate and discerning in what needs to get done and when it needs to get done. A lot of overstimulation is pressure, pressure that you place upon yourself to meet a deadline, fit enough things in, or juggle tasks that aren't related. And sometimes what helps is a narrowing of your focus for a moment to really prioritize one thing at a time and declutter time and space, you could say.
Right. But what about, for example, when in my case stimulation gets very easily stuck in my body and I can have a hard time to get it out once my system has gotten into an overstimulated state?
Then we would say, move your body with it. Let that energy decide how it wants to move through you. Sometimes that can look like taking a moment to dance, taking a moment to exercise. It can simply mean shaking the energy out of your body. It can mean finding some movement like taking a walk or a shower or something that allows you to take this energy and express it in a physical way. As often these feelings of too much energy is just a pent up charge of energy. It's something within you that your body has frozen. You've gone into a shutdown and it needs to resolve through movement and release or a sound.
Yeah, that's good advice for sure. That probably answers this part of my question for now. So I'm curious if Tim has something to ask.
I have had a lot on my plate for a long time, and today for the first time in a while. I had one of those days where I just felt like shit for no reason. And it made me so scared that I wasn't going to be productive enough to deal with all the stuff I got to do. Because, like I said, I have a lot of stuff to do and a lot of deadlines to meet. And I panicked because I was so scared of not being able to do all that stuff in the depressed state that I found myself in today for no apparent reason. So, yeah, I'm kind of trying to handle that fear right now. How would you do that?
One helpful thing to do with fear is to explore the idea of what is the worst case scenario. Say something bad happens, something that you're fearing right now. Then what would logically follow that? Then after the next disaster, what would be the ultimate disaster? Let your imagination show you what the root of your fears are. You might find that at the end, you fear that you are totally lost, dead, or socially dejected. Whatever the result of this imagination process is, reveals to you what the core fear is. And this can be a helpful thing to confront. As you confront it, recognize here and now, none of that is true. None of that is yet realized. And you can start to see that core fear shaping your own inhibitions in this moment. And instead of basing your life in this fear, ask yourself, what is it that I really desire and prefer? What am I most passionate about? And in this way, you can come to recognize that you will continue to live through this passion regardless what happens. That ultimately is the point. We say to all of you, you must follow your highest excitement to the best of your ability without insistence on a particular outcome. And implied in that statement is you're not actually seeking a goal, you're seeking an experience. And once you orient yourself to live in that way, seeking experiences, not goals, states, enlightenments, perfect realizations, or outcomes in general, then who cares? It could all fall apart, but tomorrow you'll get to choose something exciting as well. And the state of excitement is the point. So in the end, it doesn't matter.
If that doesn't matter, then what does?
You decide. You are the one who puts meaning upon circumstances. Meaning is not built into reality. There's no God that says this good, this bad. You are that. And so realize the power that you have. Realize you are the one defining this as a failure and that as success. This potential outcome as preferred, that potential outcome as not preferred. And they are what you prefer for a reason. But sometimes getting what you don't prefer is the only way to recognize what you really do prefer, or recognize that perhaps the beliefs that cause you to chase certain things, deify certain outcomes, or preserve images is what holds you back from recognizing the sheer potential of your passion, of your self trust, of your own connection to truth within you in this moment.
So we're all connected to truth deep within us at all times.
Yes,
Why is it that it's been built into this experience that we sometimes forget that?
because you're in a reality where everyone is battling to assert their own truth. And there have been systems in place that attempt to enforce, prescribe a particular truth as a way to maintain their power. And all of you face this conditioning of the implicit programming to seek an external truth at the expense of your own self knowledge, of your own inner connection. And as you take these programs in and internalize them, you create levels of conflict within yourself between one set of belief systems that holds a particular value system and has certain truths to it, and then other belief systems that hold contradictory truths. And the idea of finding your core truth, finding the real you, is in resolving these conflicts between the belief systems. It's in deconstructing them and connecting to the real self that is beyond them. And as you do that, the wisdom of your own higher mind flows through your heart. You can still have all of your different belief systems, but an awareness moves through you that starts to break down the belief systems that don't necessarily reflect the coherence and wholeness of that self.
Helgi, you need to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This brought up for me the topic of bias, or wanting any particular result over another result, and how ultimately no version of reality is inherently preferable to another. So,
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
is that?
Well, it's preferable from any given point of view, that I have my preferences for reality, and other people have their own. But a definition I heard for God is that God is a mind that has absolutely no bias, in the sense that it's just completely unconditional and accepts everything completely as it is. Would you categorize that as a true statement?
Yes. That is reflective of your higher self as well. There is no judgment coming from your higher self. There is no punishment coming from your higher self. There is only an all-encompassing awareness that is fundamentally accepting. And you can connect with that higher self, though in the physical form, you nonetheless have an ego and a personality. And so this personality cannot erase its preferences in the same way that your higher self can. Your higher self comes through to remind you that you don't always get what you prefer, and you're not supposed to. But when you are truly in a deep connection with a higher self, while still maintaining a lower self to be grounded in form, you recognize both as true at the same time. Source has no preferences, but I do. Sometimes I get my preferences, sometimes I don't. And that matters, but not cosmically.
Yeah, I think that's a very good distinction, that it matters but not cosmically. And what I've found in my experience is tapping into this higher self is almost like as if you're watching a movie. And when you're really engrossed in a movie and you're seeing a very gory or difficult scene, sometimes what people do is they detach and remind themselves that they're watching a movie. And that takes a little bit of the sting out of whatever they're watching. So would you say that's kind of analogous for everyday reality?
Yes, in the sense that you step into that attitude of observation, that instead of becoming completely immersed in the story that the mind tells about the experience, you also notice the level at which you have the observation in the background. And this allows you to gain a bigger picture perspective. But of course, detachment in and of itself isn't the complete picture, as detachment is an initiation of what allows you to take that bigger or wider source perspective. And from that perspective, the idea is that you step back into physical body awareness, that you bring that expanded perspective into the sensations, the feelings, the energies that arise, so that the wholeness of source reorganizes those sensations. It's not a forced process. It happens as you step into that acceptance of source while witnessing sensations, emotions, difficulties in life with the same level of acceptance.
So you could say essentially that detachment could become its own kind of a trap, or that people can have a tendency to um, become disconnected or dissociated through um, not being fully embodied or incarnated.
Yes.
Yeah, that just about answers my question. Do you have any more to me?
So we detach, wait, we work towards our goals with, or towards the experiences that we desire to the best of our ability, but we let go any claim on a favorable outcome or any expectation. Is that pretty much on the money?
Yes. And that doesn't mean that you don't work towards it. It means that when you get to a result, whatever happens, you embrace. That means sometimes you have a goal and you orient towards achieving it. You do everything in your power to achieve it. Doing things to the best of your ability doesn't imply that you are independent. And this is where some people get mixed up. For example, the best outcome that you can imagine for a particular project might involve a collaboration. And usually that's the case. You are constantly co creating with others in your reality. You're learning from them, you're exchanging ideas with them. You all have different talents that allow you to create multimedia projects and various sorts of community engagement and support, or whatever it is you want to do together collaboratively. Everyone's skills go into how the outcome is best served. Of course, in your own personal life, there will be things that you do completely independently, and it just as much follows do it to the best of your ability. And yes, do seek the outcome you prefer. But if you should happen to meet a crossroads where there's a dead end and you have to take a different route, or somewhere along the lines you or someone else makes a mistake, it means immediately accept it. That doesn't mean suppress your emotions. It means at a fundamental philosophical level, you recognize that this occurrence can be used in a positive way. Often the positive way to use it is by seeing a lesson in it. Where along the lines did I get stopped by a blind spot that caused an error, miscalculation, or something to be done with an attitude or frequency that didn't bring about the best results. See the lesson and imagine for a moment, yes, perhaps I could have done it a better way had I known that before. And by seeing that, you get to better prepare. You get to see, next time I do something similar, I'm going to make sure that I account for this and that I've learned from my last mistake. And so then staying in a positive state, choosing to return to that source of passion, of love, of enthusiasm, you step back into the same thing that you were attempting to do or something that you're even more passionate about. And you take the knowledge from last time to cover your blind spots and your weak points. And then you see again, how did I do better now? It's akin to a sort of scientific method. You have a hypothesis, you test it out, and then you try again. You're gaining data along the way. You're seeing all of life as an experiment and the process as the point. And as you do that, there comes to be a lightness within you. Not necessarily just a light, because in this realm, wherever there is one thing, its opposite exists as well. By lightness, we mean a sense of levity, a sense of moving through with less resistance in the process. And less resistance also means don't resist resistance itself. Don't label all resistance that arises something wrong. Because just as much it's important to be aware of your own instinctual responses along the way, knowing that they do arise for a reason. And the attitude here isn't forcing yourself, but it is learning how to tap into what your most powerful source of motivation is within you and come into alignment with it continuously.
So I'm feeling some other topics come up for me that I want to dive into. One that came up is complexity and simplicity. So a lot of spiritual teachers will emphasize the simplicity of reality, and a lot of more intellectual or scientifically minded people will emphasize the endless complexity of nature and reality. And I'm curious how these two, this duality interplays with itself. Would you say that at its core, reality is infinitely simple?
No, we would say it's infinitely complex. But complex doesn't mean complicated. So think of it this way. Something that's complicated is nearly impossible to understand. Something that's complex is possible to understand, but it would take forever to actually understand it. And that's what's overwhelming for many of you. You know so little. You know less than 1% of all that's out there. And we, as extraterrestrials, not necessarily speaking as what's possible to communicate through the channel, because that is less than what we know from our world. But we know not much more than you do in the grand scheme of things. There is always going to be more unknown than known at this level of incarnation, at least. And that's the way it's supposed to be. So complexity is possible to live with. And those who rush towards a simplified version of things generally do so as a way to cover up fear.
Okay, but help me contend with this. So another phrase I heard is that the more you think, the more complex reality gets. And what I've found when I've practiced more meditation is that things just become so much more simple, and that um, over complexifying reality is not always helpful or necessary, that just simply to be present is the most simple and the most useful thing you can do.
Yes, if that's what works for you. When you meditate, you are allowing yourself to attune to a particular frequency, and you are allowing yourself to expand your own capacity to focus, and certainly returning to basics like your breath allow your own nervous system to regulate. They allow you to return to the level of sensations. And we certainly encourage you to get back to basics and to master the basics first. Though it doesn't necessarily mean that something is wrong with thinking. It means that when you get overwhelmed, that all of your focus has gone into thinking and has drifted away from the body. You can nonetheless have both awareness of the body and thinking taking place simultaneously. It gets easier and easier to do the more that you habitually return to the body and the breath. And we wouldn't say that this is necessarily simplifying life. It's really just getting to the foundation.
Okay, I still want to dig a little bit deeper into this duality, because when I've had my moments of God realization, which would be two experiences in my life when I felt like I went all the way and merged with God, and it carried just an unmistakable sense of course, it's so simple, but at the same time there is infinite diversity and complexity to it. So I am curious to understand what happens when you collapse the duality of simplicity and complexity.
This simplicity within the complexity is what is essential. And the essential truth of spiritual experiences is something that seems as if you've always known it. It's always been a part of you. It's the very essence of reality. Certainly it is. It's the foundation upon all. And in these moments, it feels simplified because you are at that higher perspective. You see the whole thing for a moment, or at least as much of it as you can see from within the human body. And this essential wisdom that all is one and all is love is not necessarily simple as much as it is unifying. And it brings a wholeness that is clear. So, in this way, yes, you could describe it as simple because experientially, it's profoundly clear in what it is and what it means.
Yeah, that was helpful. That cleared up some of that for me. So yeah, if Tim has anything more, then I'm
Yeah.
happy to let him take the stage. You're muted, by the way.
Muted and mulling things over. Wow.
It's a lot of information, and there's a lot to dissect, and I can definitely imagine myself listening back through this to grasp better some of the information that's coming through, because
Yes.
it's like a waterfall of information.
Some incredible wisdom.
Oh, yes. We often work rapid fire. It can feel like a shower or waterfall, not just of this information, but of subtle energy if you want to attune to it. Imagining that waterfall above you flowing into the crown chakra and creating waves of energy that move through the body. It can also be, in that sense, experiential.
I felt that way very much during this conversation, and I'm fascinated by you guys' ability to put very ethereal concepts into words. I find that difficult sometimes because with deeply spiritual concepts, or well, it's ironic to call them concepts even because they kind of defy definition sometimes. And what is your process for distilling stuff that can't really be described with words into words?
Well, channeling in this sense is particularly powerful for a variety of reasons. In one way, the channel is allowing our energy to flow through him, which essentially means we are attuning to a similar vibration. And in that way, a resonance takes place. The channel can translate our energy and express it into something that you may understand. Though this process for the channel is a sort of disassociation from the typical personality or the ego. And the notion here is that yourself, your higher self, is always present in the background. And channeling is, in this way, a submission of the ego to allow the higher self to predominate for a moment. And in that way, there is clarity that emerges as the hesitation, the moral framing, the appeal to empathy and connection to self-image that exists within the ego gets suspended. And words, ideas, movements simply flow automatically. And this is the way that we are able to express through the channel, though just as much the linguistic development of the channel is the means through which we have to communicate.
Okay, I have some questions. I'm very curious. So you described this channeling process as kind of a loosening or letting go of the ego for letting something else come through. Now, would you say that whatever entity or whatever it is that speaks through this body, would that also be considered an ego? And on top of that, why is it necessary for there to be a middleman, let's say? Why not just simply speak as God?
This agreement is a particular soul connection that you could say takes place between the channel's incarnation and our incarnation, just as much as you all have past and future lifetimes and you have agreements with them. And this particular agreement serves both the channel and those in the earth plane who listen to these messages. Many have a similar connection to guides of the same origin or a similar frequency. And in this way, the resonance that takes place is one that supports those beings in establishing contact with not just their higher self, but with their own guides. Did that completely answer the question, or?
Let's see. I feel like I do want to dive a little deeper into it, because I'm curious about what you are.
Yes.
And um,
We understand the curiosity. Yes, we are, well, the origin, you could say, that we come from is extraterrestrial. It is a star system around the star Maya and Alcyon. Different planets have different aspects of our civilization upon them. We also live within ships that can travel around the galaxy. You don't necessarily need to believe this cosmology to benefit from the information that we share. When we come through the channel, it is a translation of that energy. And that's to say that some people have described this as a direct connection to something beyond. And we emphasize that it is a translation. There is a resonant connection between the channel and us in our world that allows for information to be translated into your world.
Is this happening in real time?
Yes.
okay, I want to add on to this. So what would you say to? I know there are a lot of people who are more rationally minded who are not receptive to this kind of communication, and what they would, I imagine, say is that they would dismiss this as imagination. Um, and
That's
yes, and what I wanted to add is, so a lot of people have a clear distinction between imagination and reality. So could we work to kind of merge this a little bit together or show that they are not so distinctly separate?
well, you have computers and phones before you, correct?
Yes.
So at some point, one being had to imagine the idea of a telegram and then a telephone and then a calculator and then so many other things that emerged within the imagination. And then they became one invention after another. And eventually they became your smartphones, your computers, and eventually they became your AI and so on. So everything that exists existed first as an idea. And imagination is how things become reality for one. Just as much, imagination is a tool through which archetypes, patterns, and information is transmit. And artists, creators, use this imagination to bring to life a living consciousness. In this sense, all art is a sort of channeling and transmission as well. Now, whether or not you tap into a consciousness that exists deep in your imagination or one that exists on a more shared archetypal plane, the content has power. And whatever you choose to believe about the origin of the content, just focus on the meaning inherent within it. Just as much, many will see channeling as a sort of shamanistic practice. In the same way, shamanic journeying involves getting to meet power animals and other beings on a seeming imaginal plane. Yet the information shared becomes meaningful and it translates to real life synchronicity and encounters with the same archetypal forces that presented themselves on an imaginal plane in a real life plane. So certainly have fun with this wherever you're at. The channel nor do we care if you dismiss this as mere imagination, because imagination is the first doorway to walk through.
Okay, I don't want to hoard all the questions, and if Tim, if you have anything, feel free to step in. But I feel drawn to dig a little bit deeper into this specific topic about imagination and reality. Um, I'm curious, what are your thoughts on the idea that absolutely everything is imaginary, that even physicality itself is an imagination that is so strong within the mind of God that that God can convince itself that it has not imagined this reality, thereby immersing itself more completely into this experience, but that in reality, absolutely everything is imaginary, and you could say that um, the dreams you have at night are just as real as your everyday reality. The only difference is the consistency of your everyday reality.
Yes, we would say that this is true to an extent that everything exists in the mind of the creator. Everything is mental in its nature. And there's a sort of structure that is similar to your own belief systems that upholds the laws of physical reality. But that doesn't mean that you necessarily have the power to change and influence these things. You can change your own beliefs, and as you do, reality becomes malleable in the same way that it is within your dreams.
Okay, so to expand on this, so would you say that it's correct that what we call physical laws and physical reality that we take as concrete and real is the imagination of God, but as humans, being a small subsection of God, have only a fraction of God's imaginary power. So we can affect things with our imagination, with our human imagination, but we cannot alter physical reality with our human imagination because that is being imagined by God, which the human doesn't have access to at all times.
Well, you can influence physical reality with your own imagination. The extent to which this is possible is quite limited. And this is why we say we wouldn't encourage explorations of ideas like psychokinetics or telekinesis too much, because what's the point?
Well, what would be the point? I mean, obviously these things are very interesting, and people feel inclined to explore them. I have not
To
had any
have
explore.
power?
Go ahead.
Would it be to prove that you have power? Because there's a far more ways that you can prove that you have power that would benefit others more than moving or bending objects with your mind.
Yeah, maybe it would be to prove that you have power, or maybe it could simply be to um, explore what's possible with consciousness. And I have not experienced those things for myself, so I cannot personally attest to how uh, real that is. But I have experienced things such as telepathy, which some people would consider in the same bracket as all of those other things.
Telepathy is natural.
Yeah.
It means that you are empathically in resonance with others around you. And this is established through authenticity and transparency. When you communicate your own true self and you hide nothing from others, there is a field of resonance that you're able to tap into. And you start to communicate with body language, feeling, and subtle energy in the same way that you communicate with words. And so you naturally are drawn to the same vibration in the same moment, and you start to pick up on information at the same time before linguistic communication.
Yeah, I could keep digging and digging, but I feel like we
Dig,
should.
dig, 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 dig.
Yeah, are you
One
feeling
more.
okay, Tim? Or are you
Give us one more. I'm super enjoying this.
okay? Because you look a little bit tired, and I know you have to go
No,
in a little bit.
no, no. I got another 40 minutes.
Okay, cool.
I'm just look heavy because it's been a tough day, but
Yeah, yeah.
this is really helping.
Okay, great. Um, yeah, give me 1 second. I had a train of thought. May have lost it, but yeah, telepathy. Um, yeah, this is interesting. I heard somebody describe this as um, you know, lot the conception that people in everyday life have of minds is that it's a confined thing within your skull, within your limited being, and that mind is actually more so the ocean that we all swim in, and it's not um, confined within your limited person. So that telepathy is actually a very natural thing in the sense that mind is something that we're all sharing, but obviously we have an individuated or an apparently individuated mind that the contents of which are not available to everybody. But through authenticity, we reveal uh, what's kept inside. So what are your thoughts on kind of this interplay of the our personal minds, our apparently closed off minds, and mind as a shared ocean that we all collectively swim in?
We'll put it to you this way: consciousness is the building block and the backdrop of everything that exists. So there's as much consciousness within the rocks and the trees and the walls of your own home as there is within your bones. The idea is that the human nervous system and brain and body together are a receiving antenna for consciousness. Plants also receive a certain form of this consciousness that is different from yours. So the biology of a being becomes a funnel for consciousness to be received. In the same way, thoughts are received. They are signals that form outside of your head before they enter your brain, you could say, as a electromagnetic synapse and meaning and information that you project upon it.
So essentially, you're saying that our understanding of uh, our thoughts is something that happens after the fact.
Yes, there's already a movement of subtle energy around your body, around your head in particular, before the thought enters you and is expressed.
Right. Yeah, that's a very interesting recontextualization of because a lot of the time we feel like we're actively thinking our thoughts, but most of the time we are being thought more so than uh, consciously or actively thinking.
Are we ever consciously or actively thinking, consciously creating our own thoughts? Is that ever the case?
You are choosing between a variety of thoughts, but all of the thoughts existed before you decided to place your focus on one of them. So you decide which thoughts get priority. And as you choose specific thoughts, you do carve out specific pathways. But you are not generating the thoughts. Say, however, for example, you place your focus on a particular thought. That thought that you choose becomes a point of attraction. So the new thoughts that you download are attracted to the place where you've put your original focus. And again, as new information, new thoughts are received, you can shift your focus from one point to another. And continuously, new information is received whenever you shift your point of focus. Both, again, into physical reality and onto specific thoughts that occur internally.
So essentially what you're saying is that everything already exists and we are simply highlighting different parts of reality, but fundamentally not generating anything.
Correct.
All right.
But it's also true that we are consciousness, and consciousness is what we are, and consciousness you say is the building block and the background of all reality.
Yes.
So in a way, in being consciousness, we're also kind of generating everything that is. Is that not so?
Yes, you are generating your own experience of reality. You are generating the meaning, and you are nonetheless creating. But everything that you create is a deliberate choice to channel something that already exists. Think of it that way. That in the mind of God, so to speak, every possible timeline of your life already exists. And in this moment, you are sorting between all of those different timelines. You will have to create the things that you create according to each timeline to get to the destination. Yet, what you create already exists as potential energy within the mind of God. And that's why when you get to particular moments, it's deja vu. It's a recognition that that timeline existed before the moment you arrived at it.
Yeah, because God is absolutely complete and there is absolutely nothing missing from God. Therefore, there cannot anything new be generated because God is absolutely infinite. But it seems that paradoxically, God is so infinite that it still finds newer and newer ways to expand itself.
Yeah.
Would you say that's correct?
Yes, that's correct, essentially.
Okay. Well, I wanna go back a little bit and dig into a few things. You spoke about consciousness being essentially the backdrop and that which creates everything, or something along those lines. Um, but
Building block is blocks
building
of
blocks. Oh,
reality.
yeah, yeah. But in that language, it implies a certain level of separation, that there is consciousness and that which it builds, and this also applies to the analogy of the antenna of the human mind being an antenna for consciousness. That consciousness is somehow a property of reality, or something that can be transmitted more so than reality itself. So, would you care to dig a little bit into this distinction of consciousness as reality, but not as a property of reality?
Well, when we say consciousness is the building block, we mean that everything is made of it. The very field of existence is consciousness. And you receive consciousness in the way that you are able to experience self-awareness, and you are able to experience the idea of inhabiting a living body that thinks, that feels, that moves. The consciousness in the table is still consciousness. It just doesn't have a vessel through which to experience self-awareness. We're not sure if that answers the question, or
To some
if we're
degree, but even in this answer, you speak of the consciousness in the table. It implies that consciousness is somehow a property of the table, more so than uh, essentially what the table is, or that the table essentially does not exist. The table is a concept. Actually, it is just consciousness. Um,
Yes, you could say the consciousness of the table to be more proper.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I guess it's maybe I'm simply getting hung up on the semantics, which is a big uh, area of confusion for people around these topics. But I think it's I'm always trying to refine my language and try to be more clear about it because
Yes.
it's easy to get confused. Um,
Well, why we wish to share this is that we want you to understand life as a communication. As you walk in the forest, you sometimes think that you are getting to experience nature. Yet the truth is that you are nature. And so, as part of nature, you couldn't ever be in nature or out of it. It's what you are. Just as much as you experience the forest and you take in the sensory input, there's communication happening with consciousness. You feel it in the way the wind moves, you feel it in the way that the smells affect you. And this is a symbiotic co creation. The consciousness of the rocks and the wind communicates with you. You are able to receive and translate the information that is present within the living consciousness of nature itself.
yeah. I guess that mostly answers the question. It's something I'm gonna have to sit on a little bit more and digest because these things are often not understood right away through communication. They often take a lot of digestion to fully
Yes.
comprehend. Um, so yeah, essentially, you are agreeing that consciousness is not a property of reality. That consciousness is reality itself, but consciousness can also be transmitted through various means, and that essentially consciousness is engaged in this process of communicating with itself forever through its infinite variety of different parts. Um, so,
Yes, that's essentially true.
mhm,
All of reality is consciousness,
mhm,
and consciousness is expanding, multiplying, and continuously creating more of itself.
mhm.
Why is it doing that?
Curiosity, you could say, because it is in a process of discovering itself, knowing itself. This is why know thyself is the fundamental axiom, because the more that you discover about who you are, the more that source consciousness knows itself through you. So you have conceived of this notion of the Big Bang. It's similar to that, but at a more metaphysical level, you could say before there was this sort of an explosion, there was an infinite field of emptiness, no form. It was the same consciousness that is now, but it had no self awareness because there were no bodies to inhabit, there were no stars to inhabit, there were no black holes to build reality and string it together. So, from this void or darkness, light emerged. And the light was so great and powerful, it was to consume all of the void. And the darkness decided, I must still exist. And so the void and the light interwove themselves into each other and created that sort of big explosion, the birth of all reality. And it continuously expanded and expanded and grew and grew. Light and darkness weaving together to build a multiverse. And the point of all of it is that self-knowledge and that self-expansion.
Another description I've heard along similar lines is the reason why reality does this is because it essentially desires to share its love with itself, but when you're completely unified, there is nobody else to share with. So that reality fractures itself and pays the price that comes with being fractured for the reason of sharing, essentially sharing with itself.
Yes.
Would you say that's essentially the same thing as you're expressing here?
It's another aspect to it.
Yeah.
That when there is only one, there is no other, there is no mirror, and so there is no knowledge. And so the idea of sharing ties back into the same thing that we've talked about, self-knowledge. Until you have an other, who the self is and what the self is unclear. So the infinite multiplicity and the exponential expansion is to create a clearer and more complete sense of what self is.
Yeah, the infinite multiplicity. But then I've also heard the description of apparent multiplicity. That essentially the multiplicity, that essentially the unified nature of reality is fundamentally more real, and that the multiplicity is essentially an illusion or appearance, let's say.
Well, all is one and the one is an all. So in this way, every cell contains the entirety of the source. And wherever you go, there you are as part of the source. There is no one who is not built of the same fundamental energy. It's like a hologram. Every part of a hologram contains the seed of the whole image. So yes, in that way, no part of the source is separate from it. No part of reality is separate from it. Absolutely everything is interconnected.
But even the word interconnected implies that there are different parts that have some degree of separation that are in connection with each other. To me, the word connected is not the same word as being completely unified, would you say?
Well, this is the sort of paradox that you have an individual independent expression, but you are interdependent in your nature. That the parts of the whole have their own expression, but they could not exist without the whole. So, yes, there is a need to reconcile paradox within expanding to have metaphysical understandings. Because, yes, you will always be individual and independent, but at the same time, you are always interdependent and part of the one. You will always have to reconcile this and many other paradoxes.
Okay, so this is coming to me a little bit more now, essentially, that independence and interdependence are actually interdependent themselves, which means that interdependence must include a level of independence to be completely interdependent. Would that make any sense?
Yes, we see what you're pointing to. And the fact here is that independence means you are making your own choices, and that agency and that power to choose is fundamentally essential to being an individual in a body. But you are not independent in the sense that you don't rely on others, because you rely on all of those who have built your world and society and who maintain it the way that it is to live the life that you live. And you are dependent on others for knowledge, information, for co-creation, and so on. So you are always the only one who says, this is what I'm focusing on and this is what I'm choosing. Though you live in a world where you will always rely on others. And many struggle because they put all of their emphasis on one or the other idea without fully making space for the other. So the truly empowered stance is fully embodying your individuation, just as much fully recognizing the idea of interdependence and service as the means through which wellness is achieved.
Okay. There's so much stuff that opens up, but I think you're muted again to me. But I don't know how much time we have, and I am in hoarding mode. So
This is, yeah, I think this is good for the channeling for now. This was amazing. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for your wisdom.
Oh, great. Thanks to you for allowing us to co-create and share with you in this way. It has been a pleasure for us, and then we wish you a fantastic rest of your day.
Likewise. Thanks. Hey.
Hello.
Wow, dude. Holy cow. I'm like, everything else will have to wait until Hewkii figures out his microphone situation right now, because this is so loud in my ears.
Oh wait, is something up with my microphone here?
You got mad background noise. We're on.
1 second.
I was like, should have seen when you were channeling Dante. I was like making sure to mute Hewkii every time he was done speaking, so we didn't get this noise anymore. Oh, I muted you again, Hewkii, just out of spite that time.
Is this better now?
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
thank the Lord.
Okay, what happened is essentially I only have one USB-C cable, and my computer was running out of battery. So I had to use my computer microphone so my computer wouldn't die. And so
it was all blessed in the end.
Yeah.
I hope it didn't create too much background noise. I also picked up on it and started to mute myself. Anyway.
Yes. We worked with it. Dude, that was amazing. That really just saved my day right there. I just felt I felt the healing all the way from here. Did you feel that, Hewkii? Was that just me? I was like,
yeah, it was massively clarifying. The thing is, I just wanted to go on. Because the thing is, like, I'm built this way. I just need to dig deeper and deeper and deeper, and every clarification brings up another nuance that needs to be explored.
I saw that glint in your eye.
Yeah.
I was like, he's not about to stop. I better. I'm just kidding.
Wow.
I would have been very
on-
down for going on for a bit longer. Sorry.
Oh, sorry for interrupting too. No, I mean, you can come on Wednesday. I'm doing the live stream channeling on YouTube, so I intend to do them like every Wednesday now. Before it was Friday, and I don't know. I'm always like changing the day of the week around a little bit. So this week it'll be Wednesday.
Oh, great! Yeah, we'll. If you got a link for us, we can put that in the show notes so people can find it.
Yeah. I mean, the Heart Flow Transmissions is the YouTube channel. If you link to that, and then it goes live, and like in the YouTube comment, what do you call it? The live stream chat. Like I put the link to Zoom, so you can just watch the video and then click the link.
Oh, great! Awesome.
Wow. Yeah, I would certainly come if I weren't teaching myself, but I will definitely talk about that in the intro, I think, of this episode, just to make sure that gets across. That was really powerful. Everybody needs to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gee, I just feel feel so nourished and clear right now. I don't know what to say, honestly. Uh, I did.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sorry, Helgi, go ahead.
No, I think it's just a sign that it's the power of this method, that it's that it has this effect. And yeah, hopefully we can do this another time, because I
Totally, we'd love to.
I the thing is, I felt your trance, and I almost got swept up in it also. Like, it started to pull me into this conversation, and I felt like it almost just got a life of its own.
It's gonna
Yeah.
next episode with you, Dante, is gonna be the three of us on a journey together, just like
Right.
for like 17 hours.
Yeah, I think that's the appropriate way to do it, because I feel like we're just scratching the surface. But it's always like that when you're dealing with these topics. It doesn't ever stop. There's always more to explore, and it's just, the mind is never content with its own understanding. It always needs more. So it's
Totally,
yeah.
Yeah, and there's many people who do report that like when they listen to these, they feel very deeply pulled into a trance, or like there's sensations that move through their body. It's a lot of fun, and I've done it a lot with in person and cacao ceremonies. So there's time for like some sharing and before, and sound healing, and then people have like get to like stay in that vibration kind of and hang out after. It's one of my favorite things to do. So
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah, it's so powerful. As soon as you said that thing, you channeled that thing about like taking the words you were saying and allowing them to flow down into the crown chakra like a waterfall and activate the body from above. I Yeah, I just felt it right away. That was wild. It's pretty wild. I sat up
yeah,
straight. And I really got into that, stayed on it.
yeah, yeah. Often they have those little visualizations or symbols that can be very energetic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it can help
I mean,
to make one more receptive to
what was that?
it can help for making one more receptive, not just to the verbal communication, but also what's being expressed through the words on a deeper level.
Totally.
Yeah, that's the challenge of communicating spiritual concepts. One of my questions was around that, how to channel spiritual truths, complicated stuff into words, all these concepts that aren't really concepts and can therefore not really be described with words. And I think bypassing the reasoning mind somehow with language like you just did, and just hit straight into the emotions instead.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is the challenge of music and poetry, and it's all about trying to effing the ineffable, or
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
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 The channeling was just it's so powerful to be able to talk about certain things. And like, I mean, I think there's sometimes I've listened back to even my own channeling or channeling with Bashar, where like people are bringing up these very like vulnerable subjects, and like the guides are kind of just like nonchalant, like, oh, okay, well, that's exciting. And like some people take that as like, wow, that's so insensitive. But it's not about that. It's about like the higher perspective, and kind of uh teasing a transcendence into people somehow. And that's not something that I could do if I wasn't channeling. Like I couldn't hear like, oh, my grandma died, how exciting. Like I just can't have that. And I'm not to. So it's like something that's done in like a particular container, because I think there's a lot of like these people that get these spiritual languages and concepts, and then they bring that insensitivity with them into a human realm that isn't very helpful. That it's like, oh, well, just like let it go, just like that You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah, it's like when you're existing too much kind of in the absolute level. Matt Kahn, he used this example of like when a child is crying and needs your attention, your response is not like, don't you see? It's all one. It's on a human level, you
You
respond.
fool!
Yeah, right. So
You kick the
it's,
baby.
right.
Stupid idiot.
It's, yeah, it's important to be able to distinguish between those two states because I even know people that have taken LSD and looked at like horrible like news and atrocities happening from different parts of the world and just like being absolutely in love with every single part of creation, but that doesn't mean that from a human level you agree with or want those things to happen. um, so I think it's important not to get too lost in that state, because when you're in that state, everything is infinitely good. And this is hard for people to understand that haven't accessed some of these states. Is that I've been in states that are so accepting that somebody could have come up to me and shot me and I would have accepted it. I would have completely, that's how radical it is when you tap into it. But that is very different from your ordinary everyday state. And a lot of times when people tap into it, they feel like they've just transcended reality. But you do come back to
Gotta gotta tease transcendence into people.
yeah.
What you gotta do. That's
Yeah.
one of my favorite things you
But
said.
it's not the whole path as well, because the transcendence is kind of like a way to deal with crisis and shock and all of these things that come up. But if you stay forever in the transcendence, then there's no there's no integration and there's no change, because you're just so accepting of everything that why would you change any of it, you know?
Right. Yeah, I think this is kind of where postmodernism kind of falls into this trap of like, well, nothing really matters. And, when I tape a banana to a wall, it's just as much of an impressive painting as, all the paintings in the Louvre. It's sure, you could say that, it's from the absolute sense, it's all equally beautiful. But I'm not as impressed walking into an art gallery and seeing a banana taped to the wall as I'm seeing a painting that took years and years to work on and polish. So it's
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's a part truth that some of that has, because it's the reality is we do have preferences for things, and that's okay. That's part of the fun.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah, but it's like it can be seen as such a disaster too. All these preferences
Oh yeah.
and opposites of preferences, the stuff that we push away. So
That's the only reason we have war. Like somebody wants one thing and somebody wants the other thing. It's like sorry, like you know,
don't you
I'm gonna
get
I'm
do
gonna
you,
get my thing, and you.
yeah, do you ever get tired of this shit? It's like guy just existing in this egoic state for a bit too long. You forget to be mindful for a couple of days, and it's like, man, this sucks. Like, God, it's the worst. Just I just had a friend remind me just now of literally just being mindful because I forgot for the entire duration of today, which I realize is why I've had a really bad day. Um, I do you remember the stuff that just happened during the channeling?
Oh, I was just gonna ask that.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Okay. Because just because I was about to reference, um, yeah, the fact that I was having a really bad day, which I referenced in which I asked about or I asked around that during the channeling, and
Mm.
yeah, that was literally it. All I needed was somebody to just tell me it's you just gotta stop resisting it, man. That's all. May seem like a shitty situation right now, but you just gotta feel the gotta feel where there's tension in your body and just stop applying so much pressure there. and just release,
Mm.
relax instead. That was all I needed. It's so wild how powerful that is. And it's so wild, I think, how also how many people are lost in not really ever seeing that.
So would you say that it gave you permission to relax?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And
exactly.
that's it. And so like um the guides talk about permission slips. Like in my first book, they talk a lot about this. So it's called The Guidebook to Living Love on Earth. There's a whole chapter about a permission slip, and they say that any modality or tool like meditation or this or that, it works because we're giving ourselves permission to access a state of consciousness or an intention. And when we start to see that mechanism, like, oh, okay, like I believe that I need this in order to get to this state of consciousness, with time, we can start to just make more and more shortcuts. Like, all I need first, what I need to do is give myself permission. So, do I have permission to relax? Do I have permission to be imperfect? Do I have permission to make mistakes? Do I have permission to do what I want and not what other people are trying to like prescribe to me? And give yourself those permissions. Cool. And then more, how do I want to feel? Like, and how do I want to feel and how do I want to do this? And what does it take for me to give myself permission to feel better and do it? Then it becomes easier. It's like I don't need this one specific modality. I need whatever it takes to give me permission now to feel this way and do this thing. Simple. Permission granted. Go on.
Yeah, it's tricky because most of us grew up in situations where we're just kind of placed into a box, and you're not don't have permission to do a lot of stuff you're supposed to. Toe the line, do the thing
Yeah.
properly. So we all grow up just very caged.
Open the box, find the instruction manual, read it, do it step by step.
Yeah, and it makes
Mm.
sense because that is how
Boring.
society has because society is a mass survival mechanism. That's pretty much its only function. It's designed to survive, and that's important. But if you're just surviving, that's you're not going to be fulfilled. But
Yeah.
at least it's better than not surviving. So it's important to still learn a lot of the things that society is teaching you, because it's there's reasons why these things have been put in place. But it's it's this kind of this dynamic of safety with versus adventure. And you see some people that have completely discarded all the lessons of their parents and then become too wild and ending up overdosing on a drug somewhere. It's just definitely can be misused, either pathway, I'd say.
Stay in school, kids.
Right.
What we're saying. Um, yeah, and give yourselves permission to do whatever the heck you want. You don't
Yeah.
owe anybody anything.
Yeah, it's good to do both.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that was powerful. I really gotta go very soon, so I think we'll call it here.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
I gotta
That
go
was-
work on music.
And I'll just mention for anyone watching that I do these private sessions as well if you check out my website. So if you want to have a one-to-one, it can focus on personal issues in your life beyond metaphysics. Like, how do you apply these things to make changes in your life, feel better, and go past the limitations that seem like they're in place but might not be there.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
highly recommended. Also, that book you mentioned, you said that
Yeah.
was one of yours?
Yeah, so I have 4 books already published. I'm working on more. I guess 5. It's hard to say. So I would recommend all of them, I guess, but they're all very different. The first is the Guidebook to Living Love on Earth, and this is the whole metaphysical framework of the Platian Council. So the laws of reality, how to live in alignment with them, and then it's kind of like going into every area of life and helping you to apply them and see how they translate perhaps in the area of your identity and finances and personal relationships and religion and philosophy. So it's very detailed and long. And then I have some other books as well that's more like one's like Heart First is reprogramming your mind to let love lead. It's about being in a flow state as much of the time as possible. And what are like some keywords that like it works with this acronym impact. And if you remember this acronym, you also remember the qualities that bring you back into the flow state. And the other book is just the Heart Flow Transmissions that is kind of my the transcripts from the live sessions that I've done over the years. So it's more like commemorative. It doesn't necessarily have like the same fixed prescription of things that it teaches, but it does help you really understand the recurring themes in their message. And there's some very helpful meditations in all of the books. And recently I just came out with something that I wrote back before, at the very beginning of my spiritual journey is more like creative writing, as I am starting to do things of that nature again. And I just wanted to be out there. So, you'll find some of that on my website, and there's way more to come as well because I have some big projects that I'm working on.
Awesome. Looking forward to hearing more
Yeah,
about that. And
thanks for putting all that out there, man. You're
we'll
incredible.
put links to everything in the description so people can find your stuff. And until next time, I guess.
Till next time.
It's been a pleasure.
What an honor. Well, before you leave, everybody, we're about to share with you one of my songs this time. It's my turn to share one of my songs at the end of this episode. So we're going to talk about it a little bit first. It's a song called Far From Another Eye. It's a song that originally came from my friend and my guitarist in the Flammeus trio, Thierry Lahire is his name.
We the French pronunciation here.
It's kind of he's from Luxembourg, so they speak a little bit of French there. He grew up in a more of a German-speaking family, and then they have Luxembourgish as well. But his name is, I believe, quite French. I don't think Thierry is really like a German kind of name.
Doesn't sound like
but anyway, so we met when we both started studying in Germany, in Mannheim, where I currently still study and live and work. Just started my master's degree now in jazz performance. But me and Thierry started out in the bachelor's in the same year. That's when we met and started playing music together. It was about 5 years ago now. And it was in our first year that he sent over this cool 5/8 song idea that eventually became Far From Another Eye. And he presented it to me like this. He said to me, I can't believe how accessible this 5/8 idea is that I came up with. Like it flows so naturally. It doesn't sound like it's a 5.
This is so. I was just gonna mention this before you mentioned this because at first I didn't even clock that it was a 5/8, but then I was like, wait, this is an odd meter.
Yeah.
Because at first I was like, it was kind of waltzy. Like I felt it was maybe like a 6 or something, but no, I definitely always appreciate when an artist can kind of Trojan horse an odd meter in there in a way that people don't notice it. I think that's a very cool thing to do.
Yeah, that's my thing as well. That's my favorite. That's why I love the Beatles so much, because they used to do that all the time with every song they wrote. You listen to the song and it's like, this is some easy shit, I bet this is easy peasy. And then you look at the lead sheet and it's like theoretical physics.
Yeah, some of it for sure. But
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, Thierry, he's a prog guy, or so you've told me, right?
Yeah, he's a big metalhead as well. Big odd meter fan. Big fan of Dream Theater.
I think I'd get along with this guy.
You'd like him. You'd really like him.
We'll go and jam in 13 and 15 and have a blast.
That would be one hell of a jam, actually. You two on guitars, jamming away. Yeah. He's got the jazzy influence in his playing now, and you're more of a. I mean, you're a jazzer in the closet, kind of.
Oh, I'm stepping out of the closet. Bro, yeah, I got some jazz chops in me, but I'm more kind of rock and metal influenced, but I'd take influence from anywhere. But that's beside the point. This song is really good, and I really enjoyed the lyrics as well. I was just reflecting on them as I was listening to it again. Like, there's some lines in there that actually stuck with me for many months since I listened to it for the first time, such as peace of mind can only know a mind of peace.
Yeah. Peace of
really
mind can only find a mind of peace. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you come up with that?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. That's a good one. Dig it.
Yeah, I dug deep for those lyrics. I was really, really happy with the result. I felt like I was able to distill some very deep spiritual truths in every single verse there, in one way or another. Like the deepest that I had come to understand and grasp at the point I wrote the lyrics. And that's like really hard to do because some of these concepts are really ethereal, like we talked about in the episode. These spiritual concepts can be so hard to put into words because they're not really describable by words.
Yeah.
So I was happy with the outcome this time. In our core, we want the war to cease, but peace of mind can only find a mind of peace. That's one of my favorite.
And the last line with "every path you take leads back to me." Was that the line?
Yeah.
Yeah. That one hit for me. It's like, yeah. I've been there. All roads lead to home.
Yes. I know you've been there. And it was like me and you both, brother. And it was a great
Only
experience. Yes, only us. Nobody else is Jesus. Only we are Jesus and God. So everybody take a bow. And while you're at it, I'd like to tell you that it was a profound experience recording this song as well. I went and recorded it in one take. This and another song on the album, which I'm blanking on the name. It's not The Son Who Went Missing. It's I Won't Run for Cover, it's called. I did that one and this song, Far From Another Eye, in one session, where I both did them in a single take in this big church, Akureyrar
I presume. In the church?
Yes, the big, iconic-looking church in my hometown of Akureyri in the north of Iceland. I got in there. I know the right people, you see. And we had me mic'd up, and it's like this big room, it's a huge hall, so you have a lot of reverb. And the church has these built-in microphones at 2 or 3 different places in the ceiling. So we were able to plug into those microphones as well and get the reverb from there. So all the reverb on this song is totally natural, which I really,
That's
really
very
like.
unique. That's not done a lot these days, because you can get pretty good sounding reverb through plugins, but it definitely adds a level of uniqueness. This reminds me of something. I think it was a band called Floating Points that it's been a while since I heard about this, but they apparently went into some natural settings where they had very unique rock formations and cliffs or whatever, and they played their music there and captured the way the music reverberated off those unique shapes of the rocks, something like this. So it's us electronic musicians are very prone to just being in our bedrooms and utilizing all the plugins, and you can get great sounds, but there's this is a different dimension of
you literally get an imprint of the place where you recorded the music into the music. Pretty cool. Because it wouldn't have sounded exactly that way in any other room. And for the nerds out there, my sound engineer Fusi, a good friend as well, he told me proudly that he'd created a new reverb template from modeled on the reverb in the church hall from our takes over there. He created a reverb based on that hall and the takes that we did. So I mean, if this goes viral, then we'll probably be able to sell that that plugin. Well, let's see what happens. Just hit me up if you want it. I can probably hook you up for free.
That's cool. I love hearing stuff like this because the next time I listen to the song, I'm gonna be aware of this. So it'll probably hit differently, like knowing the backstory. It always adds a level of, depth to the music for me.
Yes, and now everybody who hasn't heard this song before gets to experience that level of depth right away. So
Yeah.
without further ado, enjoy Far From Another Eye, and we'll catch you next week.
See ya.
A cage deters a life, both hers and his. But when we lose what's not, then who's to say what is? Liberty is not a virtue, you're not alone. When your shattered heart is turned to stone, in our core we want the war to cease, but peace of mind can only find a mind of peace. Suffering is not a given, don't be afraid. All you once called yours will be unmade. You and you, I and I will never be less than a moment's width, a thought's lifetime, close to each other, far from another eye. Ooh, whoa, ooh, seek repose, we say, to those who care. But you won't find a there, here, there, nor anywhere. Happiness is not a finding, just